Geocachamaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads. I'm Daryl W4, back with Chris of the Northwest as usual. And if you're joining us for the first time, thank you, because we were falling apart. But this is a weekly show about geocaching and other geolocation related things. But tonight we're going to be talking about our memories, thanks to the Memory Lane promotion, but not directly due to the Memory Lane promotion.
Oh, good, because my memory isn't what it used to be.
Oh yes, I do have a memory. Anyway, it's been one of those days, one of those weeks, and
this is going to be
it's going to be a fun show, especially because we're slap happy and we're going entirely without a script, save one. And I'm getting distracted by the chat. Save one submission from 4K Club. So maybe we should start off with that one. Chris, how's your reading tonight?
I read good.
You a good reader?
I read now.
Okay, so you read now.
Cacher 4K Club. I've been geocaching since 2006. Got introduced to geocaching at a parent-teen camp with my daughter. Bought a Garmin eTrex and started geocaching with the family as often as I could. Eventually, the kids got bored with it and lost interest, particularly after some unintended extreme geocaching adventures, like when you end up in a swamp because you chose to bushwhack instead of staying on the trail. Daryl, have you been there?
Can I bleed the fifth?
You can bleed the fifth, but you probably want to plead the fifth.
I've done plenty of bleeding on the fifth as well.
So he goes on to say, my geocaching waned some because I prefer the finds with family. The boys and I had one great adventure in Las Vegas worthy of a memory lane discussion. But my recent fondest memories are from the Michigan State Park Centennial Geo Tour. My wife and I have taken a few long weekends to enjoy the great sights and natural wonders of Michigan. We did a fall color tour in the Porcupine Mountains, sounds prickly, and enjoyed the summer beaches and dunes over Lake Michigan. Geocaching has gotten us out to see things we otherwise would have missed. There's a wide beach of nothing but baseball and softball-sized stones in all directions. And watching the sunset from 100 feet up on a sand dune is breathtaking. So my recent most favorite memories have been geocaching with Mrs. 4K around the Michigan State Parks.
So I don't know how many people fully appreciate this, because I've actually lived in Michigan for a long time. And Chris, I know you've witnessed a lot of this stuff too.
Yes, but as an Ohio State rooter, I'm not allowed to go to Michigan.
Well, the same geographic areas.
Okay, that's
so. Though when you get further north, it does get cooler in so many ways. It also gets harder to find stuff, but it's more spectacular views. So, and I've been working on the Michigan State Park series down here, and can fully relate even from the, mediocre parks that I have visited. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like, and I've been to a lot of the ones in the northern part of the state, even some in the Upper Peninsula before I can really remember it. But I do actually remember a few scenes of some of the hikes that we took with my parents, just because it was so spectacular.
Nice. So
I fully get this one. I'm on board, and we kind of are looking at doing something with the state parks in the Upper Peninsulas here, just because I think that's about all we're going to be able to do with COVID.
Oh, I bet. So Daryl, tell me about how many state parks are there in Michigan? How big is this challenge? How long do you have to complete it?
Well, the challenge is, well, I shouldn't say a challenge. It is a geo tour,
Okay.
and it was 3 years from launch, and it was launched for the 100th anniversary of the state parks with 100 caches, 25 per region.
Mm-hmm.
So if I recall, all of those caches are in different parks, but I might have that wrong. Even though there's more parks in some areas than in others, it's all very doable. It takes a while, and I think someone did all of the caches, all 100, in less than a month.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Somebody probably knocked them out in a day.
Well, it's not easy to do because you have to go all across the lower peninsula, all across the upper peninsula to get all of these caches. So just the driving and doing it when you get into the parks at the right time is a challenge.
Okay.
So I think just driving, I had mapped it out on Cache Tour at one point, and just to get 20, which is the minimum to get the coin, 20 in each region. Each region will get you a path tag, and you have to hit 5 of the caches, and then it's what other 15 do you want to hit? So there's 5 that are like the notable parks in that region that you have to go and visit. And then you go and hit the other 15 as filler, essentially. So it was like a full week of driving to hit all of them.
Okay. So I know Michigan, let's see, do I have it right? Looks like a glove.
Yep.
So is it divided up, say, by wrist, thumb, fingers, and upper peninsula?
Basically, yes.
Okay. I
So,
just threw that out there.
Yeah, it's, the population is mostly in the lower part
South of Canada.
Michigan. Well,
north of Canada, actually. Detroit is north, isn't it?
Detroit is north of Canada, but it's across the state into like the Grand Rapids area. So it's pretty cool because, we've got 80, I think it is, that goes across, and then you go into Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go around the lake. Or if you want, you can spend a lot of money and take a ferry across the lake, but then you miss Chicago and you go into, I think it's all in Wisconsin. I think both of the ferries go to Wisconsin.
Okay. I've never taken a ferry. I've always driven around. I think
the ferries, I really want to do the ferries, but when we looked at it, it was like $500 or $600 for us to take the car and one way on the ferries, and they only make 2 trips a day.
You could just buy a cheap car on the other end and come out ahead.
Just about.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, Happy Hodag says yes, they both go to Wisconsin.
Okay.
And there's the faster one and the slower one. I want to do the slower one because it's an old, I don't think it's steam anymore. I think they converted it, but it's an old railroad car ferry.
Oh. And is that how they're labeled? Faster and slower?
Pretty much.
Hair? Yeah.
Pretty much. Yes, Detroit. Gary says that Detroit is north of Windsor, which it is. It's the only place in the U.S. where Canada is south of the border.
Yeah, that's strange. I think my dad took us fishing to the UP one time. I believe I've been there, but I couldn't tell you much about it. I was pretty young.
Well, and the thing that's really cool in the UP that I've always wanted to do is tons and tons of little iron and copper mining communities that are abandoned.
Oh, nice.
It is very unique look, and in most cases it's really tough to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I can do that anymore, but especially Renee having some mobility problems. She's having issues with her knees again, so walking isn't working as well for her. So I don't think these heavy bushwhacking through like 1.5, 2 miles is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the better ones, it is a full day hike to and from. So you have to pretty much camp out there if you're going to go visit them. But they're just these amazing all wooden elevators and everything that just are spectacular and literally falling apart and just beautiful, beautiful imagery.
Picturesque.
Very much.
Happy Hodag adds that the SS Badger is the slower one. I've been on that one.
Yeah, that's the one that I want to hit.
Badger sounds definitely Wisconsin based.
Well, that one is the one that was a railroad car ferry, and I believe it was based out of Wisconsin initially.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really remember a whole lot about the story. It's been probably a decade since I really got into that and read up on it. So, yeah, I really want to do that series, though. And this, I never expected to have the time to be able to do it. But this might be the chance, especially because there's no mega events really happening. I can actually, spend the time to do it.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. The ironic part is that the SS Badger is based out of Ludington, Michigan.
Yes, it is. And I believe it's actually run by Historic Society. It is a historic steamship. So it's not exactly what you'd expect probably for a car ferry of this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, those older boats are nice.
Yeah. Well, the other one, the one I can't think of the name, the faster one, is like it from what I can tell, because I haven't been on it, it is much more comfortable. They have like a movie theater or something like that in there too. So you get more entertainment value. They have Wi-Fi that I think you have to pay for, but you could conceivably actually make it a productive trip.
How long is this trip that they have a theater and Wi-Fi?
I want to say it's like 2 hours on the faster one. It's like 6 or something on the slower one.
Okay.
And hopefully the research department can check into that while we're babbling over here, because I am curious now too.
Talking about ferries, I know my parents took a ferry to Alaska, the Alaskan highway, the Alaskan Marine Highway System. Because you don't get in the winter, you don't drive between towns in Alaska. You take the ferry.
Yeah.
The roads aren't paved, or the roads aren't plowed.
Well, and it's more than just not plowed. In many cases, they're
or there are no roads.
Yeah, the roads disappear, and then you also run into the other part where roads that were there in the or in the winter, you have communities that are accessible by car that aren't accessible anymore because the roads thaw and turn into water.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, no. Well, yeah. Here we go. The Happy Hodag says the Badger is 4 hours each way. So we don't have the word on the other one, but the Badger is 4 hours. That's the slower of the two. So it probably is like 2 hours maybe for the, I don't think it's twice as fast. So maybe 2.5, 3. But yeah, you can watch a good movie.
Yeah, you could in 3 hours.
Or a bad movie.
Yeah. That's up to you. You choose.
And well, unless they choose. If it's a theater, they probably choose.
Yes. But my parents were on that
Alaskan
ferry, and there was theater, because it's a multi-day trip. And so there were theaters, there were, seatings for lunch and dinner and observation lounges. They said it was like a small cruise ship.
Yeah, nice.
So they had a cabin with 4 bunks in it and a private bathroom. So,
wow.
Ooh.
That's impressive. I wonder how expensive that is.
It was somewhat pricey at the time. It was comparable to a cruise, but you buy a ticket to your final destination and you can get on and off the ferries as much as you like. So that allowed them to stop at towns, spend a night, jump back on the ferry and go to the next one. So they got to explore all they wanted.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a good way to do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have to do that.
One of the things that was a big deal in the Great Lakes that very few people seem to really know about is you've got, or you used to have this little ferries that were cruise ships. They weren't like car ferries, but they look more like not the ferries. What is the, like the touristy yacht kind of things that you'll take the cruise on, but they're bigger. So these longer. The faster Happy Hodag came through for us. The faster ferry is the Lake Express, and that's 2.5 hours each way.
And that's why it's called the Express.
Yeah. And they don't leave from the same ports because Ian
really?
says that he can only find the Badger from those two ports. But there's one goes from Ludington, the other from like Muskegon, I think it is. And one goes to, I want to say it's Milwaukee, but that doesn't sound right. And I'm not even going to speculate where the other goes. Anyway, so they had these cruise ships that weren't very big, but you'd go on week-long cruises in the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them would take you from like Detroit to Mackinac in the course of like, I think it was like 3 days, so that you could cruise up Mackinac, take a vacation on Mackinac for a week or so, and then cruise back. And that was a great way to do it. Okay, here we go. Happy Hodag is our winning researcher tonight. The Badger is Ludington to Minnetonka, and the Lake Express is Muskegon to Milwaukee.
So living in Michigan and commuting to Wisconsin is not a real option.
No.
Across the ferry.
No, especially with that kind of price. But I know a few people do that on a fairly regular basis. And if you're in like the Grand Rapids area, that makes sense because you get up, pack up the car, go at about the right time. You get there a few minutes before you need to leave kind of thing. Get to the other side. So it's a really good option if you're that close. But for me, it's like a 2-hour-ish. It's not that bad, but it's like a 2-hour-ish drive just to get to the ferry dock. So by that point, it's not really worth doing that. White Coaster says, I was cruising the Great Lakes. Oh, wait, that was a Navy ship. Hey, that still works.
Yeah.
It's still cruising. And one of the interesting things is a lot of the Great Lakes freighters do actually have passenger rooms so that you can join the crew in a nicer room that you can actually go and cruise the Great Lakes. It's not cheap, but it's one of those things that I think would be a lot of fun to do at least once. Not until I retire. You
can get passage on most any freighter. There's several that go up and down the West Coast that you can get passage on. Now, you get to eat with the crew or the captain, or I guess you don't actually eat with the crew, but you could if you wanted to. But there's no amenities like telephone or Wi-Fi.
Right.
So I've always thought, wouldn't that be fun? Just jump on the, go from like say Portland to LA on a I forgot the name of the ship, the container, basically.
Yeah.
Just to say you've done it.
Yeah, and that's kind of I want to do it through the locks, of course, because it wouldn't be much fun if you're out in the middle of the lake. And someone had actually said, well, won't you get cell service at least? Probably not, because a lot of those trips you're going to be in the middle of a lake, miles and miles from the nearest tower, in a big chunk of metal.
Yeah.
Don't count on anything.
It's a floating Faraday cage.
Uh-oh, we have a memory from On a Boat. Here's my memory for tonight's theme. I remember a time in geocaching when you didn't phone a friend to tell where the cache is after searching for only 30 seconds.
Oh,
Uh,
I think you need new friends.
I actually, when we got started, it was actually not that unheard of for a cacher to not carry a phone.
Right.
Back in 2005, and you were 2004, correct?
Yes.
Cell phones were still, they were predominant.
Yeah.
But they weren't, as ubiquitous as they are.
And it was rather expensive to make a phone call.
Yeah.
You had a certain number of minutes.
Right. And during the weekdays, no one wanted you to call them.
Right.
Unless you were on their friends and family plan, or some of them were, anyone in the same, so they had like all of these loopholes to try to get you onto their plans. So if you signed up for one of those, it wasn't so bad. Or if you had one that was provided by work, because there were several of those out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the data service pretty much didn't exist. And the data service that was available wasn't fast enough to do much. And even like a webcam was challenging. Most of the webcams didn't work from a cell phone, period. They just didn't.
No, that truly was phone a friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had to.
You line it up ahead of time. Hey, I'm going to go here at this time. Be by your phone and computer because I'm going to call you. Can you see me? Here I am. Can you see me?
Uh-huh. Oh, man.
San Antonio, Daryl. I waited. It was San Antonio. It was over 100 degrees.
Ooh.
And it was the webcam opposite the Alamo. And I found it. Oh, there it is. Okay, you're walking along, you're looking at your picture, trying to line up where it is, and I see it in the window. And I run across the street so that the Alamo is behind me. And I call Wits End and I say, okay, I'm there. And wouldn't you know it, at the moment the page updates, a bus goes between me and the camera.
Nice.
So I have to wait another 5 minutes out in this, heat. I just feel my skin baking off of me. Like, come on, man. My second picture, I didn't look so happy, but I was there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and that's it really was a completely different world of geocaching back then.
Mm-hmm.
The caches were different, the cachers were different, and it really, to me, started to change in 2007, but it didn't actually pick up momentum until about 2008, maybe 2009, because that's, the iPhone came out in 2007, and people started to see the potential, but there wasn't a GPS in that original iPhone.
Right.
So the location data that it had was tower triangulation or Wi-Fi data. And the maps were pretty poor. But it was a sign of things to come. And people saw that, there was some promise there. I think it was Wet Coaster or Limax, one of the two, were mentioning they were using a Treo with some of the geocaching software.
Yeah.
And Limax was saying that? Yeah. And that was tough. Yeah. And the visor actually had a GPS plugin.
Mm-hmm.
But getting the software to work with it was a little bit more challenging. But we were thrilled to have that for the paperless caching, because at least we didn't have to carry around notebooks. And we'd print out like binders of paper. I actually had on one trip one of those little battery operated inkjet printers, like lithium ion, not double A's, inkjet printers that I would take with me to print the current cache pages. Because it was also a time when caches being archived or going missing was a regular occurrence, and you'd only get those people updating it like at night. So first thing I'd do in the morning was take this bookmark list, and I think that was before we had bookmarks on geocaching.com, and print out those pages so we could take them with us, and you put them in order so that you know which order to stop in.
Seems silly, but that was exactly it.
Well, and then we had the Cachemate is what I was using on the Palm, which didn't have GPS access. Limax was lucky enough to tether his GPS 12 to the handspring visor, but not quite the same. And then you'd have to manually find them. We had the Mobi reader, which got sucked into Kindle, and that's the basis for the Kindle format. But we had the Mobi reader format that we'd get with our pocket queries. So we started using Mobi instead, because you could just take that file, load it right onto your Palm and go.
Yep. And that way you had all the descriptions with you, and you could search for them.
Yep. And you could put notes in.
Yep. We've got some feedback here. This one comes from On a Boat. He says, yep, back in 2006, 2007, not everyone had mobile phones, and not everyone had the unlimited calling plans to be calling during the day. He goes on to say most webcams didn't even work in the later years on mobile browsers because a lot of them used Flash that wasn't supported. Limax says, I was proud of myself when I was able to use my first iPad and iPad 2 to capture a webcam, or capture myself for a webcam.
Yeah, that was some hot technology. Yep. But I'm so excited that Flash is officially dead at the end of the year.
You know what?
Yeah, Flash was awesome.
A lot.
It did. But it was awesome until Adobe bought it. And quite frankly, it's not Adobe's fault. It was starting to go sideways before Adobe bought it. But when it was Macromedia, it was an awesome technology that had a lot of promise and could do things you wouldn't believe in a web browser. Now it's just become that evil thing that's a security vulnerability and eats your battery and destroys your performance. Ugh. What are trying to do?
On a Boat says, I remember taking my laptop with me with my work hotspot in like 2010 to do a webcam myself.
Well, I remember the first cache that we did when you were in Toledo for that big run was a webcam, and we tried to get Wi-Fi at the McDonald's.
Burger King. It was a Burger King, because all Burger King had Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was a McDonald's that had Wi-Fi. But yeah, so we tried to do that. We had to stop there for, the morning. I think we all got breakfast as well. I think so. And, all went out with our breakfast and tried to get the webcam to work. And I think Xpunk X got it working from his work phone. But we couldn't get the Wi-Fi to work on, I think it was his laptop again. But we couldn't get anything to work except for his phone, and we actually managed to get the pictures, I think, from his phone. I don't remember that well, but I know it was just a nightmare trying to get it to work. But that was actually the first time we met in person.
Very memorable.
The three of us met up, and we hit 20-something virtuals, earth caches, and one webcam.
Webcam, virtuals, earth caches, nothing we had to sign.
Right. And it wasn't that we didn't want to sign anything. We figured we had a full day. Well, we had a full day of just getting those, and we wanted to do these really cool caches, including this one immense virtual that took us to like 8 different places.
Drove us past other virtuals to get there.
Yeah. So that was quite the chore to get the navigation right. But first time that we're all meeting up, and we all get in my little Honda Element, which meant the two of you were trapped in the back seat
Mm-hmm.
with my mobile recording rig.
I was going to say with the big recording rig. Yep.
Yep. And we didn't use too much of it, but we did put together something for a geocaching podcast because at the time we were all working on the geocaching podcast.
That's the reason we got together.
Well, the reason we got together is because you happened to be in Toledo.
Well, that too.
So it gave us a good excuse. The connection was the geocaching podcast.
Okay, we'll go with that. That was fun. That was the first time. Yeah, I was with both of you.
Yeah. So a lot of fun. Really exhausting day because I still had I had an hour and 20 minutes, I think, drive down and an hour and 20-minute drive back. And we started bright and early. I think sometime around 7:30-ish. 37,
yeah.
Yeah. And then we didn't wrap up until like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Something insane.
Back when you had to drive a long way for caches.
Well, there was that too. Well, and do you remember the first time you did more than like 10 caches in a day and you felt like you were a superhero?
Yeah, I remember. Well, yeah. And I mean, because there was a lot of driving involved. I remember the first time I did 100 in a day and I thought we were at like 95. And I'm like, guys, do you know how close we are to 100? They're like, yeah, but there's the event's coming up. I'm like, okay, well, I'll go after the event if I have to. Like, you really want 100? Yeah. Okay. We'll hit 5 on the way. I think I got 102 that day.
Well, and the
108. I got some more.
The first time I did like 10 in an afternoon was like, wow, this isn't so bad. We can actually get a whole bunch of caches. Now I understand how people are doing large quantities. And it was just on a trail where people had gone and put a whole bunch of caches in a nice linear park kind of thing. It was like along a river. But it was the first time I'd actually gone out and found that many caches that easily. And it was just amazing. And it was relaxing too. You weren't staring at the GPS as much. You were, okay, it's about over there. Yep. Okay. So you'd look at it to find that cache, put it down, find the cache, log it, look at it. Where's the next cache? And it's like, oh, it's about over there. And you just started walking and it was just so much easier. And it really was kind of a change in the way that we hunted caches and played the game. And I think it was more enjoyable. As much as I like those big, long hikes, it was more entertaining, more relaxing to do it that way. You didn't get necessarily the views, but for caching, it was more fun. And that's about the time that I was getting away from, oh, where's the great scenery? Because most of the caches weren't at great scenery. It became more about the caches and less about the scenery.
Well, Daryl, we have some feedback here in the chat. This one comes from Wet Coaster, who says his geocaching memory, cruising down the Rhone River, up the Rhine River, or cruising down the Rhone River and up the Rhine River with Greenwards for our 30th anniversary. Found caches in France, Germany, and Switzerland.
That would be a good one for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love the idea of those river cruises because it's like the traveling hotel. Mm-hmm. You spend a day exploring a city, get on the boat, go to the next city and do the same thing. And it's like you just don't have to worry about the travel or the hotel. The hotel goes with you. You don't have to pack anything up and just go.
Yeah. Let's see. We have Kid Vegas 19 who says 2008, 2009 is when I started seeing the smartphones being deployed by FTF hounds to get the email notification.
And that's I think what really started to push it in the geocaching community was you could now do push notifications, get those notifications and go right to the caching. And it was using on the iPhone, it was a program called iCaching, EYE, which was very usable, not really elegant. And then it wasn't too much longer that Geosphere came out. In the meantime, though, we had the official geocaching app come out. So things really started picking up after the official geocaching app was released. And a lot of the new cachers were coming into it because, oh, I have this new phone. What can I do with it? And they were picking up the geocaching app and giving it a try. So you saw the two ends, they like really, really quick cachers and the cachers who were just getting into it using the smartphones. Everyone else was using GPS for the most part. Yeah, and On a Boat says 2008 and 9 is when he noticed a huge shift. Yeah, it was right then that I don't know what the official number was, but I had heard estimates, or I shouldn't say estimates, but ballparks from people within geocaching.com that during that period after the release of the app, it doubled the number of active cachers.
On a Boat, who's from Ohio, knows the exact webcam we're talking about. Yep, Burger King right next to that webcam. Parked in the parking lot to get it.
Many people do.
Yep.
All right, I figure we have to talk about the first celebration geocaching event, the original Lost and Found, since we also met up for that one.
Yes. Oh, we were old friends by then, Daryl. Well, we were old.
We were older.
Yeah.
Still feel so young.
I know. And I'm really hoping they have the celebration event next year.
Me as well, because I really want to go back and do that one. It was such an amazing one the first time around. For you, it was kind of in your backyard.
Yeah, it was really nice. That was what year was that? 2010?
Yep, 2010 in July. It was July 4th weekend.
That's right.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do the show now, is because it's the 10th anniversary of the original Lost and Found event out in St. Louis. In Seattle. St. Louis was the other mega event that we went to together. Or one of the others, but we've been to a few now. Yeah. But it was amazing at how many people were there, because this was also pre-mega event. Or was it? No, now I'm second guessing myself.
Yes, it was. It was pre-mega.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was just the Lost and Found celebration or Lost and Found event. So it had its own icon.
Well, actually, there were the Lost and Found events, which were the weekend of the 2nd through 5th or something like that. Then we had the Lost and Found HQ event, which was essentially the first block party.
Right. And it was a block party, but it was in association with an existing block party.
Yeah.
So there were already vendors out and what have you. And then all these geocachers descended. And I don't think people knew what to do with themselves.
No, it was amazing the number of people that were out there. They had what we now call like a geo tour, but it wasn't quite that sophisticated. But it was like, I think they were sheets that you could download or print. And I think they even had some that
they had some for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at the table and entering the coordinates into a GPS.
Well, and they had sponsored ones, and then they had, or a sponsored one, I think. And then they had the like poker run one that wasn't actually geocaches, but you would go and complete it and get a trackable.
Yeah, they're puzzle pieces trackables, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. On a Boat, thank you so much for your knowledge of geocaching history. Mega event started in 2006, if that's what you're saying.
Okay, so yes, they would have been megas by then. So probably the Geo Woodstock in Roseville? No, that wasn't Roseville.
Where? Here in Washington State? Carnation.
Yeah, Carnation. So Carnation would have been a mega event. And then the next day...
That's disappointing.
Oh, there you go. I didn't get the coin for that one. But at that, we spent like the whole day at the Podcasher booth.
Mm-hmm.
We got so exhausted of trying to get around that place that we ended up just kind of parking at the Podcasher booth. I think Sonny and Sandy were taking off or so. Oh no, I remember what it was.
They kept running back and forth to do different things.
Well, they ended up grabbing us a couple of different times because people were asking questions of them, and they're like, "Oh, these guys know." So, but they were one of the only ones that had a booth. We didn't have any.
No, I had a. Oh no, I had a
No,
booth.
that one you didn't have a booth.
5 after that.
Yeah, and we were on a panel together with Lookout Lisa hosting. But yeah, we ended up spending the whole day pretty much. I still had until about a year ago that photo sitting on the desktop in case I needed to get to it. Like I needed to get to that, but it was like one of the few photos that we had of the two of us, which also included Sonny and Sandy.
That was a fun day.
That was quite the intense day and changed the way I expect to go to events from then on out.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Well, I don't want to have a booth and event because I won't get to see anything.
True.
And one of the nice things about being a podcaster was that most people didn't recognize us on site.
Right. If we were quiet and didn't talk.
Well, and that was a funny thing is we're walking around talking with people and we had geocachers kind of staring at us like, who are they? I know that.
I can recognize that, but I don't know from where. Yeah, if they were sitting in their car, then they'd know, right?
Yeah.
If we got one on each ear.
Oh, but no, the event itself was cool. We didn't get to actually go visit HQ because it was outside of HQ.
It was outside. There's no way they could have that many people go through HQ.
Right. But they brought the HQ cache out so that you could sign the log and do all of that stuff. And they had the dunk tank with, I remember, what's his name? I can't remember his name now.
Jeremy and Brian were in there.
Yeah, no, the guy that they had doing the media for him at the time. I had it, and then I almost tried to call him Chris.
No,
it's not Chris. It's Eric Shudisky. So yeah, Eric was, I think, in the dunk tank at one point, which we missed, and we wanted to get him because he's the guy that we were working with probably most often.
Exactly. Such a nice guy.
But you were running around with a little Zoom recorder, as I recall. And getting lots of audio. And I, of course, didn't bring any of that. I just brought my camera. Because, well, I knew I couldn't bring everything on the plane. So, which am I going to pick? So I picked the camera. But that was before we started doing this show.
That's right. On a boat says, I think your covers are blown nowadays.
Now I think it's actually easier at the events I've been to. Either the people who recognize us know us better and just don't don't come up and, we actually like go caching and whatnot with them as, it's not the same as it was back then. So, it's different. I don't know if it's better or worse, but we also have more people who don't know who we are.
Exactly.
Because there are so many more cachers at these events now. And, percentage wise, it's probably less than 2 or 3% of a mega events population that listens to Geo Gearheads. Or watches our channels or whatever.
We need to change that somehow, Daryl.
Well, we need to get more people listening to Geo Gearheads. That's for sure. If nothing else, it's for their own good, so they can hide better caches, have a better time caching. Right? That's what it's all about.
Right. You need to download the podcast because it'll make you better.
It will improve your caching. It will make you enjoy caching that much more. Yeah, something like that. We'll have to workshop that.
Yeah.
So Let us know what your thoughts are on that slogan that we need to go for.
Oh, it's going to be a slogan now.
I figure it's got to be a slogan, and we got to put it on the going caching cards that we leave on the bathroom floors, which is another inside joke that you'll have to go back and
That wasn't
listen to.
Pennsylvania, was it?
No, that was in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, that's
That
right.
was at the Gigastock.
This is, oops, it's somewhat transparent, this Pennsylvania coin.
Ooh, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's oddly transparent.
Well, and that was a weird one because we had the podcast studio there.
Yes.
Which was quite the chore. A lot of fun. But that really sucked because I literally got to do a quick pass through the grounds.
Well,
and that was it.
The bathroom.
Well, the bathroom wasn't that far away, so I did make a couple trips to the bathroom.
That's the only time you were able to get away.
Yeah. Well, and I had one show where I think it was Head Hard Hat was doing some recording that I was able to jump out because I didn't have to man mixers or anything. He was all set. So I had 20 minutes that I could walk the grounds. Wheels AZ CP 590 said he heard my voice at Midwest Geobash last year and knew it was me before he saw me.
Nice.
Well, and that's one of the other things is I don't get to go to a whole lot of mega events except for where the people are that I've gone to years before. So it's, most of the people who I run into, I've already met them, let's go caching. I love doing that though. Especially like the lab caches. That's a lot of fun.
Right.
Oh, he says that was his first Midwest Geobash best mega he's been to, and he was planning on returning this year.
Oh, interesting.
Well, you could always go back this year. You just can't attend the mega event.
Wouldn't that kind of defeat the purpose?
Well, it depends. What is your purpose?
Oh, yeah, good point. Never
Ian
mind.
says they will be back next year. Yeah, but I've kind of thought about, you know what? I already planned on going down there that weekend. Maybe I should just go down there and hit one of the rail trails.
I'm sure there's geocaches you haven't gotten out of that town yet.
Well, the thing is, most of the caches around the town I've already gotten. Around the fairgrounds, I pretty much cleaned up all of the ones that I could. Now, there's new ones every year, so I still have a bunch to do. But there's a couple of rail trails that really bug me because they always show up as caches that I haven't gotten, like just that far out of the way. And it's like, I'm not going to hit those during Midwest Geobash because I want to go caching with, people I don't usually get to go caching with.
Oh, and, like on a boat?
Yeah, like on a boat says I never go caching with him at the bash. It's like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's working, so he's not allowed to cache.
Daryl, your excuse is getting taken away. I'm planning to be there on that weekend.
Oh. Wow.
And the fairgrounds were refreshed with all new caches this year too.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ian, are the fairgrounds actually going to be open that weekend that we can go and cache? That would be kind of scary because we'll have a mega event without having a mega. Actually, you might want to tell us.
Should I start making your hotel reservations now so you have no excuse?
Well, I don't need a hotel reservation. It's an hour and a half away.
Okay.
Attending the Midwest Geobash area this year without the mega was a possibility. My caching buddy, IDOC, had already taken the time off from work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing is that, I had to cancel my trip to Seattle, which unfortunately I had to do before this all came down anyway. But, I don't have my vacation planned anymore.
No.
So I got to come up with what we're going to do.
There's a lot of road trips being worked out this year. Not so many, let's plan ahead and go here.
All right. Ian says the fairgrounds are open and they're allowing camping.
Oh, interesting.
So, Ian, we might have to talk. I can see going down and doing a video still for the personal channel.
Now, Ian, I'm going to go ahead and say Daryl's going to go down there that weekend. Go ahead and make plans. That'll just guilt Daryl into having to do it. And it's the only way you're going to force him to do anything.
Well, it's only a month away. I want to say it was the 25th. So it's like literally a month away. Yeah, it was the 25th.
Do it, Daryl. Do it now.
And it is still on my calendar. So I might, in fact, still do it. It's can I get the wife to join in the fun? But I think so. All right, so Ian, let's get in touch. We'll try to figure something out.
Day trip.
Yeah, it's just a day trip. I can go down. Yeah. Oh, and Ian wants to know if you're going to come too. You got nothing else to do.
It's a little more than a day trip for me.
Well, it depends.
A month away.
Do you know anyone who has a Citation 10?
No.
Okay. Can you pay to be friends with someone who has a Citation 10?
Maybe.
Okay.
I have a friend who used to own a Citation vehicle. Does that count?
That does not work.
Okay.
But I figure that the 0.995 Mach, if you can fly from Tacoma to the fairgrounds, you can probably make that in about the same time that it's going to take me to drive it.
You know, that's going to take more than a month to line up.
No, because the thing is, you have to know the person with that plane that's going to be able to do it for you. Once you figure that out, you're good.
Oh, that's all it takes.
Right.
Just figuring that out. Okay.
Right.
Well, I was going to bring up, and I don't think I should now, that have you seen Alaska, Spirit? Some of these airlines are offering $39 one-way deals.
No, I have not.
Yeah. Trying to get people to fly again.
Wow. That's nice. And, the thing is, there are overpacked planes flying constantly now, as I understand it. They're not flying as many flights.
Right. There are not as many planes as in the air, but
they're still packed.
Now, Daryl, Ian on a boat is trying to guilt me the way I'm trying to guilt you. He says, I went to Seattle Friday through Sunday for the 2015 block party. You can swing a weekend trip to Ohio.
I like this plan. Think of it this way. It will give us the opportunity to do another video together, and which we actually haven't done any videos together.
You're right.
Aside from this. So this will be our chance to do a video together.
I don't know.
All right. We should cut this off though, because it's already more than 50 minutes in, and we want to let people get back to their lives, and I need to get to sleep because I've got a busy day again tomorrow.
Just remember when.
Yeah. I should make note though, before we take off, that my wife and I have been doing some videos on memory lane on our YouTube channel. So I'll leave some links in the descriptions. And we do have some guests sharing their stories on the various topics. Lot shorter, a lot more succinct than these are for that. But we were having a lot of fun putting them together. And I know that the people... All right, time out. Lightback says he can't go because he has a life.
I have a life?
I think he's saying that you have a life and that's why you can't do it.
No, you said we have to let people go because they have a life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's not sure he does.
He might not. I can't say. Who knows? We could have vampires in our audience.
Ooh.
Or zombies.
Or zombie vampires.
Ooh. Wow. This sounds like a...
We're a couple of months off from that.
I was going to say, this sounds like a whole new genre of podcast that I don't want to get into.
It's always fun to go down memory lane, folks. Thank you for joining us tonight. Make sure you check out the Cachamaniacs website at cachamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umpenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2020 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with a Cachemaniac.